Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fantaseries book club. This month we are discussing the Traitor Queen,
Are
second book
we?
in the 𝗟𝗶H series. Yes, we are. You
Hello.
know, hello. We were all talking behind the scenes that we don't have a lot of thoughts about this book, so if you guys have thoughts, please leave them in the comments and we will talk about your thoughts because we don't have any.
We have nothing to say. You know what? I think we'll run through maybe the Discord and people's thoughts there.
Okay, that's a good idea.
And just like the general gist of what happened in the story.
Sounds good. Okay, but first we can go around and introduce ourselves and say what we rated the book.
God, what did I rate this book?
So, I'm pretty sure you gave it 2 stars, I just looked at it on Goodreads.
Probably. Well, Nicole, you go first, and I'll Google mine.
Okay. So hi, I'm 𝗟𝗀𝘀𝘀 from Bon Bon Reads, and I rated the Traitor Queen 4 stars. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't as into it as I was with the first book, and I think part of that had to do with the fact that there was so much angst in this book. And as someone who can't really relate as much to YA characters, not that these characters are YA, it just was a little cringeworthy for me at times.
Very tropey in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Rachel. My channel is called Let Me in the Library, and I gave this book 2 stars. I checked. It was 2 stars. I have no thoughts, head empty about this book, and honestly, that's basically how I felt when I finished the book too. So, I had like a good enough time. For me, a 2 star is like it was okay, but it's pretty forgettable, which I guess is true because I don't remember a lot about this book.
Yeah. Well, and I'm Jess, this is my channel, Books Past Bedtime. I rated it 3 stars, I think, for similar reasons that Rachel did. I just thought it was very forgettable. I also agree with you, nicole that it was, like, too much angst. Like, I feel like a book needs to have a good balance of, like, fluff and angst and, like, especially a romance. It should also have a little bit more smut than this one did, I think, to be, like, marketed as a fantasy romance, in my opinion. It just I don't know. It was, like, nothing but angst.
I think that's something that's very interesting also from the first book to the second is I feel like why I liked the first book so much was that there was a slow burn kind of romance, and I don't know, I felt like the second book was very action packed, but there wasn't as much character development in the story. And we
Yeah.
can get into that later with Lara and how she's basically just pining and groveling for forgiveness throughout the book, but it was, I guess, not the most entertaining to constantly read about,
Mhm.
and there wasn't as much spice or
Yeah.
steam.
Yeah. Definitely. I would agree with that. So, those are our overall thoughts. Maybe I should give, like, a little summary really quick of what this book is
Yes,
about? Okay, so
I would
since
love to know what this book was about. I remember
so
the end of the last book though, which was very like, oh my god. So
yeah, it was very
Yeah.
it ended on a really good cliffhanger, the last
yeah,
one did. And this one we kind of, like, pick up pretty much right where we left off on the cliffhanger where, Aaron has been kidnapped by Laura's father. These are we're gonna get into spoilers now if anyone is just
joining.
waiting for that. Anyway, so Arn is kidnapped by Laura's father, and Laura has betrayed the kingdom and incited a war. So she goes back to Anna and is like, "I know how to get Arn back." So she forms this plan, and she goes to enlist her sisters to help her. And they hatch this plan to save Arn from her father and to save Arenal, I think is the country's name.
It's very similar to like Arendelle, I think.
Yeah, and especially with Anna, the princess, also.
I know. That's why I was like, is this
I'm like,
like
"Frozen who?" But basically, Laura just is trying to fight this war single-handedly and also get everyone to forgive her along the way because it's her fault that the war is happening in the first place. And that's the book.
Okay, so you know how I was talking about in the previous live show how for Bridge Kingdom, I feel like the synopsis on the back basically just sums up the whole story. I was kind of caught off guard a little bit that the back of TRAITOR QUEEN said that, you know, it was going to be really hard to escape out of this castle, and I felt like they escaped in the first 100 pages. Was anyone else surprised by that?
I don't even remember really reading the synopsis on the back. I'm not sure
Okay.
that I did. So.
Well, I really didn't read the synopsis. I finished book 1, and then with the cliffhanger, I was like, what? And I just immediately jumped into book 2. So I didn't really even read what it was about. And I don't even remember if they said on the flap or the description of the book if Aaron was kidnapped by Laura's father, because I remember it being revealed at some point in the book, and they were like, wait a minute, the only person who would kidnap Aaron is my dad. Because, and I was like, what? Okay, all right. I didn't see this coming. Yeah, I don't know. My brain really was not like, you know, trying to predict things for this book. I kind of was just like going with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Same.
So I wasn't really paying attention to the synopsis or anything.
I'm going to go through the comments really quick. Hello, Christine.
From the
Christine is doing something very important and cannot join us tonight, but hi.
But if you have a rating for us, let us know.
Yes.
I'm going to quickly see if there's any other friends that maybe we want to shout out their rating. Goodreads or something.
Bye, John.
Brennan gave it 5 stars.
Yeah, Brennan just recently read it.
Oh.
She loved it. I'm like, oh.
Enemies to lovers to bigger enemies to lovers plus sharks equals 5 stars.
I love that.
It's a good review. This person gave it 4 stars, but agrees that it wasn't very romantic. Yeah, I guess I just don't understand what fantasy romance is, because when I think fantasy romance, I think it's going to be like a romance book with fantasy elements. But I feel like this is just not. Like, yeah, not that.
I really don't know what to expect from fantasy romance anymore, but I think my ideal fantasy romance is still like The Cruel Prince.
Yeah, same.
It always
was real slow burn.
Yeah.
Like, none of us knew we were going to stand this series as hard as we do. But every show, we're always like, this is not like The Cruel Prince.
Yeah. Exactly. Nothing can live up. Even things that aren't trying to live up. Just don't. Could have done with more spice, but like the way everything was resolved after the end of the first book, I thought 4 stars overall. There.
Wait, they had like one steamy moment in this book, and then Aaron like left in the night, right? That was this book, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very abrupt. That's the only spice I even remember.
Yeah.
That's the only spice that happened.
That was the only spice that happened. Yeah, they had relations, and then he got up in the morning and he was like, this shouldn't have happened, I regret this, I hate you, and then he left.
He put a letter where he was like, this never should have happened.
I was like, what?
When did you pen this?
The angst.
But it wasn't even like angst in a good way. It was just annoying. I'm like, you can't even make up your damn mind.
Like, okay. Oh my god.
Would recommend The Inadequate Heir. Thought it was better written. The characters were more fleshed out in the first 2 books. Plus, it's refreshing following other characters.
I do kind of feel like the character arcs for everyone we followed so far are basically over at this point. So it only makes sense to continue on with somebody else.
Yeah. I liked the 2 new characters, but I don't know that I would read another book. I just feel like both of these were very forgettable for me, so I just don't really. Not super.
Yeah.
Yes, so the author said that, well, the next book is about Zara, right? And Laura's brother. And that's interesting to me that it wasn't going to be one of the sisters, because I feel like we didn't get a lot there between Zara and the prince. So I'm probably just going to read just for curiosity's sake, but I'm interested to seeing how it's going to go, because it's probably going to go back in time since they met before everything was resolved in the second book.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I've heard good things about the third one, though. Also, like, people in the Discord are definitely liking it.
Oh, that's good to know.
He literally left her on the island by herself. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why it was so funny. It was like, okay, we can be together. And then all of a sudden it was like, I'm leaving this island. You on it. Goodbye.
Bye.
Oh my god.
All right.
Okay.
So I don't even know how to start this conversation. So I think the thing that really bugged me the most about this book was that, like, everyone was just so angry at her the whole book, and it's like
Yeah.
she did start this war and cause a lot of bad things to happen, but also, like, it was just so much. Everyone was so horrible to her, and it was just, like, a very negative, angsty thing, and especially with Aaron too, and, like, he kept flipping back and forth, he was driving me nuts.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was just too much, I think. And even when she explained to him finally what happened and what led everything to go wrong, he still didn't have any empathy towards her because she she screwed up a little bit. She had the opportunity in the first book to come clean when she had her whole life flash before her and she realized that maybe what she learned wasn't true. But I just feel like Aaron was being kind of unreasonable and a little bit bratty.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like he had a huge character shift, like, in this book. Like, I don't know, I didn't really like him at all in this book because I really liked him in the first book. But I don't know.
We like a simp, that's why.
Yeah. Exactly, I think that's
Honestly.
probably what it is.
Um, can we I know this is, like, jumping to the end, but can we talk about the ending
Sure.
real quick with the
It's really
sharks?
stupid.
Yeah, that was, like, the stupidest thing I've read in a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, so we go this whole book with, like, Laura is an unforgivable person, there's no redeeming her, and then she literally, like, is forgiven because she swims in the ocean and the sharks don't eat her. What?
They were like, "She's the chosen one." I'm like, "This book better be over right now."
And it was. There was no resolution other than that. So
Yeah, they
you
just
were
ended like, they literally were like, "You are the queen of" it was like, "Okay,
yeah,
I'm finished." Close book, end.
the shark. Exactly. It
I
was
that's the only thing I put in my review, I think, which is
yeah,
just
it
like,
was.
sharks equals I don't know. I said I put so because the sharks didn't hurt her, she's the queen. Okay. That's it.
That's so
Uh,
funny.
I
Would
don't
it have been better if she had actually just drowned?
I know, right?
I would have been more shocked and entertained, I guess, but I don't know. Would it have made sense? I'm not the author here.
I literally laughed out loud when Arn said the sharks didn't eat her, and then they even sniffed her.
They smelled her and they were like, "No thanks."
Yeah. Like,
I think
she
it would have brought more content to like me personally if everyone forgave her because she actually killed her father and
yeah,
everyone started retreating, not because of the
Yeah.
sharks.
I
yeah,
mean,
But
the shark thing just seems like a weird, almost like a what do you call it? I mean, it's just like falling into legend, kind of, where it's just like this is just what
yeah.
people expect based on
And
more of like a religious standpoint versus like someone's actual actions that they just did in front of you the whole
yeah.
time.
yeah.
Yeah, and maybe if it had been, like, more of, like, an established thing, like, earlier on in the series, that this was, like, something that they really believed in,
Yeah.
or we, like, saw it happen to other people, or, like
Yeah,
but I felt like it was just, like, introduced in that scene, and it was just very flimsy, 'cause it's like
I think like maybe
it's
they kind of
convenient.
brought it up like once in the first
Yeah,
book or something like that, but
they might have. Well, I think they brought it up once earlier in this book, but it was, like it didn't leave an impact on me. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
yeah,
interesting, okay."
yeah,
I don't know.
same. It was just like okay,
Yeah,
this won't come up later.
yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah.
But I agree. I think it would have been a lot better if, like, the actions that she did throughout the book were what redeemed her in the eyes of everyone. Like, but no, it's just that she didn't get eaten by the sharks. They're like, you could do all that and we would still hate you, but since the sharks don't want to eat you, it's So stupid. Oh my god.
I don't know. And also, like, some of the, I don't know, I guess it fits in with, like, the corniness of the story to a degree, because I also found some of the dialogue to just kind of be really corny. I don't know if that's, like, a staple of fantasy romance in terms of just, like, someone just declaring their love, where it's like, all I want is you, and all I think about is this, and da da da, and it's like, okay. Or someone being like, that's okay. I looked up quotes, that's why I'm saying this. There's like,
Oh, okay.
I'm like,
Okay,
wow, you
wait.
remember more of this than you said.
I remember this all of a sudden. Okay, hold on a
What a
second.
good memory.
Here's one, for instance. It's not lovey-dovey. It's between Laura and her father says, "You are a traitor to your family and to your people." And Laura says, "No, father, that's what they'll say about you." And then I assume that she, like, guts him or something. But it just feels very like the height of, like, a Disney movie when they're just about to fight, and then they just
Yeah.
have, like, a little, like, ha 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 quip, and you're like, okay, all right.
I
Or
actually
the other
love that
one.
line. I was like,
Really?
yeah, Laura, you tell him.
It was fine, but I was just like, okay. Oh, here's Aaron's. Awake or asleep, all I see is your face. All I hear is your voice. All I feel is you in my arms. All I want is you, in italics. And then he just basically repeats that throughout the whole book. So, for me, it's a little corny. I don't know. I guess I prefer the Cardin level of, like, I don't want to marry you, but I will for just other reasons. We should get married. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think a lot of the writing was pretty corny. I feel like it could have worked if, like, there was more to the romance and, like, there was more chemistry between them, but they just
Mm.
were
I,
horrible to each other the whole book, so I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. It was kind of hard to root for them, honestly.
Yeah. I'm like, do I even want them to be together at this point?
I don't know.
I don't really care.
I like I like the marriage of convenience. I do like that trope where it's like you're
Mhm.
stuck in the marriage, and then they're like, "That's my wife." You're talking about, like, stop, and you're like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god, my wife." It's like you like
Yeah.
her or something. Like, whoa.
Well, I really liked that in the first book.
I
Like,
don't
I
know.
feel
I
like it
guess, like,
worked well in the first book, but
exactly.
it didn't
I feel like
continue
in
into
this
this
book,
one.
like, a lot of that just dropped off because,
Yeah.
yeah, because they were at odds all the time, and they were, like,
Mhm.
literally like, "Do I even be with you? You've betrayed me too much to even trust you," and all that good stuff. So,
Yeah,
I don't know.
definitely.
I was gonna jump through the Discord real quick and see if anybody had any particular thoughts to share with us. But of course, if you're watching this and you have thoughts, please share them with us because we don't know what else to say.
We can also talk about the new characters also.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
um, how do we feel about Karis, for example? I actually thought his and Arin's dialogue with each other was really funny when Arin was, like, kidnapped.
Yeah.
I actually really liked their, like, conversations. I might have enjoyed that more than anything else in the book. I thought they were funny together.
He was a very complex character, relatively, in the book, and it was kind of interesting to kind of figure out what his angle was at.
Mhm. Yeah, I thought it was interesting that, like, he wouldn't admit to anyone that him and Zara had, like, a romance going on. I'm like, "Okay,
Mhm.
but what would your motivations be otherwise?" Like, and I don't know. And even the other characters, like, conjecturing about them, I'm like, "You guys are missing what's right in front of your face." I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange, but
Yeah.
and then I feel like her sisters were kind of just, like, caricatures. I don't feel like any of them had real personalities, except maybe the one that was pregnant.
Yeah, I was gonna say the one that's memorable to me was the pregnant one
Mhm.
who had the husband, but I
Mhm.
don't really remember any of the other ones. But I did enjoy that it wasn't like, "Oh, here are your other 10 sisters all at once," and there were just kind of 3 of them that you got
Yeah.
to know first before all the other ones joined up. So, I wonder if the author is going to slowly incorporate all the other sisters with the different character POVs throughout
Yeah.
the series.
I think it's kinda interesting that the next series is for new characters and not the sisters. Like, I would have assumed she would have made more books.
Right.
Yeah, I guess they were probably looking to see, like, there's already a relatively distinct love story between, like, Zara and the brother dude. Forgot his name.
Karis?
But yeah. I guess it's more like we've already set this up rather than like here is the sister character, which one, who knows, and then like having to also lay out a love interest, because I guess just in terms of like trying to hook your reader, it's a little bit easier if you already have that established like tension or relationship or something in place. But I also feel like because there are so many sisters, if you said like this one follows one of Laura's sisters, it's like she literally has like 12 sisters. So like, are we gonna do 12
Both
books
is one different than the others.
so I think it kind of like sets an expectation that you kind of feel almost like exhausted already because you're like, are we literally going to do like 12 more books each
That's
sister?
true.
I don't know. That's how I feel personally, but I don't know. I mean, I personally am not super compelled to keep reading. Like, I don't think it's bad, and I'm sure the next book will also be entertaining. But I guess I generally, unfortunately, out of everyone in the club, did not feel as compelled by the world, even though it was like decent world building and it was fun. I don't necessarily feel like I have to return to this world to follow different characters. Maybe it's just the shark thing at the end. I don't know, but I'm just like, I'm good. I have other books on my TBR that I would rather kind of like peek into those worlds before I return to this one.
That's fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
We had a couple of comments in the Discord after people finished the book. Saga said, okay, so I just finished and I kind of preferred the first one, to be honest, but it was super good. Didn't know there was going to be a third. What? And my book seems to have a printing problem because the font size changes. Okay, never mind. This is not about the book. It's just about the font changing.
I noticed that in my book as well. It bothered me
Did
a lot.
you?
Yes. Yep.
Oh.
I had the first edition with like the more sketchy illustrated cover.
I had that one too.
Oh, yes. Okay. Was that
Okay.
independent publishing, maybe?
Yes, and I think the newer covers that are more like cartoonish, those are like a second publishing. But I don't know because I just ordered a paperback off Amazon. Like I didn't specify, but that's the one I got.
Yeah, I
Interesting.
think a couple people were noticing something like that. But I personally listened to it on Audible, and I saw some other people did too. Said I listened to it on Audible, but I really liked the ending. It was maybe a bit too tidy, but hey, who am I to complain about a happy ending? Yeah, I mean, it did feel very tidy to me.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, all is forgiven. Whatever. I don't know. Maybe that's kind of why I'm not like, I gotta read the third one, because with the way the first one ended, you really felt like I can't wait for the second one to see what happens.
Yeah.
Next. But
There's less like incentive with this one since it did wrap up nicely. You're like, oh well, I can just stop here.
yeah.
Yeah, and we don't know the other characters as well. We didn't get as much time with them, so we don't feel any kind of attachment towards them.
Yeah, and especially I do think that the third book happens like the timelines overlap with the second book, and I don't ever really like that because I feel like we just are rehashing things that already happened.
Yeah, I get that.
From a different point of view, but
yeah. Cattell said, that's interesting because I definitely preferred book 2. I liked the added tension and action, and the ending where she swam through the sharks and then trapped by the portcullis. I cried like a baby. The ending felt super abrupt though.
yeah, I've seen that a couple times that people thought the ending was pretty abrupt. That they wanted more of like an epilogue or something, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I personally really do like a good epilogue, even if it's just kind of like a time skippy, like this many years later, everybody got married and it's all okay. And like maybe shoujo manga like trained my brain to be that way, but I don't know. Just when it's just like, what happened? Like, wait, I don't know. It didn't feel like enough of a cliffhanger, but it was very abrupt.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, especially because of like how much angst was in the book. And then it was just like an abrupt, happy, easy ending. It's like, was this really like the payoff that this needed to be justified? I don't think so.
What would you have wanted from the ending?
I don't know. Like, I think I would have wanted the rest of the book to be different.
The whole book to be different.
Like, I would have wanted, like, more, like, gradual forgiveness
Mhm.
for her actions, like, throughout the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Sarah says, it is a similar timeline, but very different focus. It's on the other kingdom. Oh, this must be the third book. Focuses on the other kingdoms, political intrigue, and the characters are more morally complex, which was great, versus Ara and Lauren, who are kind of boring. Yeah, Art and Laura are kind of vanilla in terms of, like, YA fantasy characters. They're very, like...
I was surprised, honestly.
Yeah.
I was so surprised because I remember reading the first chapter of Bridge Kingdom. I was like, oh, we have a savage one. And then you learn her motivations, and both of them are just so wholesome in their own ways.
Yeah.
Definitely not morally gray at all.
No.
Yeah, no. I wonder how different the story would be if we had a Lara that really was willing to kill her sisters for this whole thing. I guess in a way, like, if she had actually killed them, then book 2 wouldn't have happened because they wouldn't be available to help take down the kingdom.
That's true.
Yeah.
Be a very different, ruthless kind of character.
Yeah. I feel like that would be almost more interesting. I don't know where they would take the story with that, but...
But it could be like Jude.
Yeah.
Getting in the kingdom.
True.
Things down. We should just read The Cruel Prince again.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do we even like The Cruel Prince,
Keep
though?
reading
I
The
can't
Cruel
tell.
Prince over and over again. Like, that's all the fantasy books are. Like, every third month we just start over again.
Oh wait, did you read the King of Ill Fame?
Yeah, I read that last month.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, for the Buzzwordathon. It was just, like, short stories. I didn't actually like it that much.
Oh, okay.
But, I mean, it was fine. It just was, like, nothing. It wasn't a Jude and Carden romance, which is all I cared about, so...
Same. Just same.
Well, is there any other interesting things in the Discord?
No. I read them all very quickly. Unfortunately, I don't think there was that much else. There was a lot more conversation, I think, for the first book.
Yeah. It sounds like it's kind of... A lot of people feel the same, that the first book was slightly better than this one.
Yeah, but the good thing is I think a lot of people really enjoyed the series in general. Like, they jumped from the first right into the second and generally enjoyed them both. Some people got out of reading slumps because they read this series. So
oh wow, that's awesome.
For them. And I know some people were just, really excited for the third book. So it's fun, bring the series to some new people, and I guess they're excited to see what happens next. So happy for y'all. Won't be me, but happy for y'all.
Yeah, I feel like this is a really good, just kind of fast-paced, slightly romance-centric fantasy story that might not stick with you for the longest time, but it's fun in the moment. And
yeah, and I mean, I think it also knows what it is. Like, it doesn't try to be like a super epic fantasy story either. Like, it kind of is like, I'm a fantasy romance. You're here for a good time, not a long time. Let's just get this story through. And you enjoy it while you're there. So it does its job.
I agree. Yeah, it was definitely fun while I was reading it. Not very memorable, but it's okay. I do wish it had more romance in it for being
same.
But
same.
It is what it is.
It's okay, I guess.
Well, does anyone have any final thoughts to share?
This is a very short discussion.
Do we want to announce our book for this month?
Yeah, I think I'm personally done with Traitor Queen thoughts. It was fine. I'm ready to move on. Nicole, do you want to announce?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were gonna announce. Okay.
Oh, I mean, I thought you wanted to do it, so.
Oh, I can do it.
Sure.
Okay, we will be reading the Poppy Wars.
Woo!
Yikes, would not do that again. Yeah, so we're looking forward to reading that together. It's definitely very different, very action-based, and I haven't read it before. I'm a little scared too, but I think it'll be fun.
Have you read it before, Rachel?
Yes, I read
Okay.
it in 2020, so a while ago. But I'm excited because I'm going to be reading it physically this time. And I started reading it physically a little while ago and ended up just pausing for a while, but I really enjoyed it physically versus by audio. So I'm excited. Folks, it's a trilogy, so get ready to cry because apparently each book is just more intense than the last. Nicole,
Your face, oh my gosh.
you're like, no. But we are actually kind of doing something different for this trilogy where we're actually going to be like cycling through channels for the hosts just for this trilogy before we vote on the next one. So I think the first book and the first like reading sprints and everything like that, the live show and the reading sprints are going to be on the Roomies channel. And then we're going to do book 2 and the reading sprints on mine, and then book 3 and the reading sprints on Jess's. And then we're probably going to vote and see whatever happens next and move along.
Sounds
So,
good.
yeah.
So definitely make sure you're subscribed to everyone so you know where the lives are. Everyone's channel is linked in the description, including Manda, our guest host, who didn't actually come.
The shade.
But that's okay. We still love her. All right. Well, thanks, you guys, for coming to the discussion, and we will see you again next month reading The Poppy War.
Woo.
Good night.